It's just getting to be redundant. And we're getting tired of coming here, not having the laws followed, not having a meeting.
I will be seeking arrests for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges.
Tiffany Henyard, the so-called super mayor of Dolton, Illinois, has been making quite a name for herself lately, and not in a good way. From what seems like non-stop drama at village board meetings to rumors about lavish spending, questionable appointments, and even a fight over rent payments, this mayor's reputation has only gotten more and more scandalous. But the question remains, is she really the super mayor she claims to be, or is she just a politician in over her head?
And Micah, tonight was a special board meeting because business has not gotten done at 2 previous meetings. So that's some progress there. But this meeting was not without its fair share of tension.
Let's start with the latest bombshell, the ongoing investigation into Henyard's controversial spending habits. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was hired as a special investigator by Dolton's village trustees, is at the center of this. Lightfoot's initial findings have left many in the community stunned. At a recent public meeting, she revealed that under Henyard's leadership, Dolton's general fund balance has dropped from over $5 million in April 2022 to a staggering $65 million deficit by May 2024. Let that sink in for a moment. In just 2 years, the village went from having millions in the bank to being millions in the hole. How does that even happen? Well, Lightfoot's report sheds some light on that. It turns out that Henyard has been racking up thousands of charges on village credit cards purchases from places like Amazon, Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair. One jaw-dropping example: a single purchase on Amazon on January 5th, 2023, that cost over $33,000. And that wasn't even the only purchase that day. There were 2 more, totaling nearly $10,000 combined. What's even more shocking is that receipts for these purchases are reportedly rarely provided. Can you imagine running a village and spending thousands of taxpayers' dollars without so much as a receipt to back it up? Trustee Kiana Belcher certainly wasn't having it. She called it a slap in the face to everyone living in Dolton, a sentiment that many in the community seem to share.
A Dolton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants her.
But the spending spree doesn't stop there. Lightfoot's investigation also uncovered that the village owes millions to vendors, with at least 589 checks, totaling over $6 million approved and printed but never sent out. So not only is the village bleeding money, but they're also not paying their bills. The result: furious residents and local businesses left high and dry. And as if that wasn't enough, Lightfoot's team found that 2 police officers had received overtime pay exceeding their annual salaries. One officer, whose base salary was just over $87,000, made more than $114,000 in overtime alone. Another officer, with a salary of $73,000, pulled in over $102,000 in overtime. In what world does that make sense, especially in a village that's struggling financially?
Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
Of course, Henyard wasn't at the meeting where Lightfoot presented these findings. In fact, she was a no-show, despite all the chaos that's been unfolding. Instead, she's been busy making headlines for other reasons, like changing the locks at Village Hall, clashing with trustees, and even bringing 2 criminal defense attorneys to a recent village board meeting. Now, let's talk about Henyard's response to all this. During a separate public meeting, she fired back at her critics, reminding everyone that she is, in her words, the leader. According to Henyard, the trustees are just running their mouths and not doing any real work. She seems to think they're blocking her efforts to pay bills and keep the village running smoothly. But is that really the case?
You are a clown. We will continue to speak out against wrongdoing.
Why won't you step down?
Trustees like Jason House and Brittany Norwood don't seem to think so. They've accused Henyard of spending money recklessly and refusing to provide detailed explanations for any of it. House pointed out that vendors aren't being paid, even though the board has approved payments. So what's really going on here? Norwood, on the other hand, called on Henyard to be a good leader and be transparent about how the money is being spent. But instead of providing clear answers, Henyard dismissed her critics as grandstanders and played the race card, accusing them of attacking her because, as she put it, "You all are black." It's a bold move, to say the least. But is it enough to distract from the real issues at hand? Apparently not, because the backlash against Henyard has only grown louder. Residents are fed up, and many are calling for her to step down. Former Village of Dolton trustee Valeria Stubbs didn't mince words when she said that Henyard needs to be locked up, and made an example of. Harsh, maybe. But for a small village like Dolton, where many residents are struggling just to get by, Henyard's extravagant spending habits are more than just frustrating, their betrayal.
Henyard's landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months.
And it's not just about the money. Henyard's leadership style, or lack thereof, has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Take her handling of law enforcement, for example. While the village is facing a financial crisis, Henyard has reportedly assigned several police officers to act as her personal security detail. These officers are racking up overtime hours, getting paid to follow her around instead of patrolling the streets and keeping residents safe. Trustee Norwood raised this issue, pointing out that residents don't feel safe because so many officers are focused on protecting Henyard instead of doing their actual jobs. Even Dolton Police Chief Lewis Lacey, who was fired earlier this year, has spoken out about the situation. He blamed budget cuts for the lack of police presence in the village, but Norwood countered that it's not about the police not doing their job, it's about how they're being assigned. And when you look at the numbers, it's hard to argue with her. $1 million in overtime pay for a village this size. It's absurd.
Dolton Township tonight as another board meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum.
And that came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting as trustees expressed concerns for their safety.
But perhaps the most telling sign of Henyard's leadership is her reaction to all the criticism. Instead of addressing the concerns head-on, she's doubled down on her position, insisting that she's doing everything for the people. In a recent meeting, she even went so far as to say that she and her team are going through the fires for the residents. But if that's the case, why do so many people feel like they're being left in the dark? One of the more bizarre aspects of this whole saga is Henyard's personal style. At a 2023 board meeting, she reportedly showed up dressed like Nino Brown, the substance kingpin from the 1991 gangster film New Jack City. She even had a DJ play Rihanna's Be Better Have My Money while she strutted around the room. You sure it made for a memorable moment? But it also raised a lot of eyebrows. Is this the behavior of a serious political leader or someone more concerned with putting on a show?
But you don't even have a sense to even look in our face. But you rather just steal our money and do what you want to do.
Residents like Lawrence Gardner certainly aren't impressed. Gardner, a local business owner, claims that Henyard shut down his trucking business after he refused to make a contribution to her political campaign. According to him, Henyard and her police chief have been using law enforcement to harass people who don't fall in line with her demands. It's a disturbing accusation, and one that many other locals have echoed. And let's not forget about the billboards. Henyard's face is plastered all over Dolton, with slogans like "Keeping My Promises" and "Fighting for My Residents." But for many, these billboards are just another example of her self-promotion at the expense of the village. One resident compared it to something out of Venezuela, where President Nicolas Maduro's image is everywhere. It's like a dictator, they said. There is no call for it.
We talked to Tiffany Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Dolton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid what she says she's owed.
Even former Mayor Riley Rogers, who lost to Henyard in 2021, has voiced concerns about her leadership. He pointed out that he never had a security detail as mayor and certainly didn't spend money the way Henyard has been. For him, and many others, it's clear that Henyard is using the village's resources as her own personal piggy bank. But perhaps the most shocking revelation of all is that Henyard's financial woes aren't limited to village funds. She's also facing eviction from her home after failing to pay rent for several months. Her landlord, Janetta Hull, who once considered Henyard a friend, says that Henyard and her boyfriend, Kama Woods, have not paid rent since August and owe over $5,000 in back payments. Hull even claims that they changed the locks on the property to keep her out. For someone making a combined income of over $300,000, it's a baffling situation.
Just here because I'm at wit's end and I fear that I'm going to go into foreclosure soon if I can't get this matter handled.
And yet, despite all of this, Henyard seems determined to hold on to power. She recently announced that she's running for re-election, and she's confident that she'll win by a landslide. But with so much controversy swirling around her, it's hard to imagine that the voters of Dolton will be so quick to give her another chance. As the investigation into Henyard's finances continues, the question remains, how much longer can she hold on? With federal subpoenas being served, lawsuits piling up, and even her own staff turning against her, it's clear that Henyard's grip on power is slipping. But in true super mayor fashion, she's not going down without a fight.
No one, and I repeat, no one can run circles around me when it comes to public service.
So, what's next for Dolton's embattled mayor? Will she be able to weather the storm and come out on top? Or is this the beginning of the end for Tiffany Henyard? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. In the comments section of the video, viewers are already weighing in on Henyard's latest antics. One commenter pointed out the irony of her dismissing the board's authority while a judge has ruled otherwise, stating, "I love how she thinks the board doesn't have authority, but the judge said otherwise, which is why it's on the agenda. She thinks everyone is dumb except her." Another viewer echoed this sentiment, noting, "The information needed for the board to make a decision about her candidates should have been given to the board ahead of the meeting, not 2 minutes before wanting their votes. That mayor is not fit to be one." As more details emerge and the investigations unfold, it's clear that Henyard's time in office will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. But whether or not she'll finally be held accountable remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, residents of Dolton are watching closely, and they're not going to let this go without a fight. So, what do you think? Is Tiffany Henyard really the super mayor she claims to be, or is she just another politician caught up in her own ego and scandals? And with all the evidence piling up against her, how long do you think she can keep up this charade before it all comes crashing down? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this wild story.